HCAM programming is supported by our viewers, thank you, and by Phipps Insurance Agency, representing companies such as MapFree Insurance. Their family-owned independent agency is deeply rooted in the communities they serve and offer time-tested insurance products to fit individual needs. Since 1950, Phipps Insurance specializes in home, auto, business, condo, and renters insurance. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this best of edition of HCAM News. I'm HCAM News Director Tom Nappy, here to recap some great happenings throughout the year. On this edition of HCAM News, we take a look back at some of the great happenings of 2026. So without further ado, let's get started. Hopkinton Town Manager Lane Lazarus shared some important information about the upcoming annual Hopkinton Town meeting, which will take place on Saturday, May 2nd at Hopkinton Middle School, starting at 9 a.m. Here's a look.
Once town departments have looked at their budgets from the bottom up, they've got some cost estimates maybe for capital items. How do those processes move forward, say for the operating budget?
Yeah, so then I get the fun task of consolidated everything, so we can come up with a comprehensive budget, which you and I will talk about, and with all of the different department heads, so they can explain why they're asking for specific things or actually deleting specific items. So it's important for you as a town manager to have that comprehensive view, so you actually know what the bottom line comparison is compared to prior year.
And there's always a deficit with that. So there's always a lot of asks, and so it's never balanced with the revenue. But those are just revenue estimates too. So those continue to be refined throughout the process.
Yeah.
But yes, so we always start with a number, a gap.
And this was the first year where we spent a lot of time on our revenue estimates. And we actually looked at the historical averages over the revenue side, and we were able to generate a 40% increase in revenue just based on the actuals. So we were able to balance our budget a lot easier this year because our estimates on the revenue side are based on actuals and not just a flat percentage.
Mm-hmm. People go to town meeting, they've got the document, they've got the warrant and motions document with everything, the finances in there, and they've got the appropriation committee report, which talks about the deep dive into the budget, what it all means. And then throughout this process, there's just attention to the funding of services that we provide. What would happen, say, if we went to town meeting and then the state cut state aid, and so for all our sudden our budget is out of balance? What would we do then?
Yeah, we would have to look at all the departmental budgets again and come up with Plan B. Mm-hmm. So we would probably have to call a special town meeting, knowing what was appropriated at the time, and then reduce that funding, similar to what we did for fiscal year 26, mm-hmm. how we went into a special town meeting and asked for reduced funding to be appropriated in order for the benefits as well as the debt exclusion to be reduced. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we would have to come up with Plan B and look at where we could cut some expenses. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really an important thing, then that what town meeting votes is what can be spent. There isn't anything else unless someone gets a grant or there's a gift. That's it. We do get requests throughout the year. Can we find money for various things? And there is no finding money unless somebody gets a grant. What town meeting votes is what departments can spend. So I think it's really important that people know that they are controlling what their town government spends.
And when it's approved at town meeting, whatever is approved at town meeting actually gets submitted to the Department of Revenue. So we have to prove by vote count what exactly the town has approved to make sure that our expenses and our revenue targets stay with what was voted on.
Be sure to have a say in what town services should be prioritized by attending the annual Hopkinton Town Meeting on Saturday, May 2nd, starting at 9 a.m. at the Hopkinton Middle School Auditorium. And be sure to check out the premiere of Hopkinton Works tonight, Wednesday, April 29th at 7 p.m. to get a full breakdown on the budget process in Hopkinton. In 1966, Bobby Gibb became the first woman to run the Boston Marathon. And about 60 years later from that historic Boston Marathon, the incredible accomplishment of Bobby Gibb will forever be memorialized at the start of the Boston Marathon in Hopkinton.
Here, I call Free Spirit. And this captures some of my joy of running. Some of the way I feel this, a woman who is strong and fast, intelligent, brilliant. And they say, the truth will set you free. Well, this is freedom. This is the kind of freedom that I felt running. It's just this wonderful exuberation. I said, this is alive, this sculpture.
Bobby Gibb was not only the first woman in history to run and complete the Boston Marathon, she is also an accomplished painter and sculptor who studied at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts in the mid-1960s.
I mean, even as a kid, we all run. We love to run. We're running around, we're playing games, we go to the beach, and we run up and down and so forth. And everybody else stopped running, but I was still running. I loved running. I just loved to run it because it gave me a sense of freedom. And I'd run with the neighborhood dogs up in the woods, and I'd run and run and run and run. And then I'd flop down and I'd look up at the trees and the beautiful sun. And I think being an artist too, I appreciated nature. And I also studied science. I studied biology and physics and math and all those things that were, in those days, my mother would say, those are useless subjects for a woman. You should take typing to have something to fall back on until you get married. This is in the 50s.
Two-time Boston Marathon champion and winner of the first Olympic marathon for women in 1984, Jean Benoit Samuelson, and a long list of Boston Marathon champions, along with some help coordinating from the 26.2 Foundation, came together several years ago and helped lead the Bobby Gibb Marathon Sculpture Project to raise funds to erect a statue of Gibb on the Boston Marathon course to forever mark Bobby's legendary record-setting 26.2-mile run that silenced the doubters and showed the world that running marathons is a woman's sport too.
When she applied and was told no, she was given the reason that women weren't capable of running more than 1.5 miles. But she noted at the time that she was running 40 miles at a stretch. And she thought to herself, well, they have something to learn.
Right now, here's a look at the ribbon-cutting ceremony that officially welcomed a new amazing historical landmark near the Boston Marathon start line in Hopkinton, entitled The Girl Who Ran. The statue of Bobby Gibb is officially welcomed for the first time in its official public setting right near the start of it all.
We're also deeply grateful to our partners Tom Carey, Boccaccio Sculpture Services, GRLA, they designed what you see here today, and Scott's Landscaping, who built this beautiful installation. And to Bobby Gibb, the first woman to run the Boston Marathon. We are truly honored to celebrate you in this way. You broke barriers, you paved the way, and you have inspired countless people around the world. This statue will stand as a lasting tribute to your legacy, and we know it's going to inspire generations to come. Yay! Those thank yous are just the start, and you'll hear more about those who helped to make this a reality from Tim Kilduff later on today. I also want to take a moment to recognize Susan Hurley. She was a true champion of this project, and she played an instrumental role in the fundraising. She believed deeply in the power of women in this sport, and she had tremendous admiration for Bobby. Susan passed away in November, but I know that she's here with us in spirit, and I can just hear her saying to her runners, on Marathon Monday, as you head to the start, look to Bobby for some inspiration before you head on your 26.2 miles. I'd now like to welcome 26.2 board member Jamie Damone, who will lead us through the program. Jamie is another tremendous supporter of this effort, and she, over the years, has established a really wonderful connection with Bobby, so we're thrilled to have her here to celebrate with us today.
Good morning and welcome. I'm honored and excited to join you today for this joyous and important occasion, the unveiling of the Girl Who Ran, the statue commemorating the legacy and lessons of the first woman to run the Boston Marathon, created by none other than that remarkable woman herself, Miss Roberta Bobby Gibb. I first learned of Bobby's story the days leading up to my marathon in 2016, as the Boston Athletic Association celebrated the 50-year anniversary of Bobby's historic run. She served as a Grand Marshal and was recognized officially as the female champion of 1966, 67, and 68 Boston Marathons. I was awestruck, not only by her incredibly inspiring story, but to learn of the very limited choices and opportunities that faced Bobby and women only 50 years ago. So much has changed in a single lifetime, but also because of that singular act of courage and love. I found it remarkable that as a young girl, Bobby continued to follow her heart and ran, despite society's pressures to do otherwise. Bobby saw the Boston Marathon for the first time in 1964, and she thought it was amazing. I believe it is especially poignant to recall Bobby's own words in capturing the remarkable spirit she moves through the world with. When recalling the first moment she witnessed the marathon, she stated, she wasn't thinking whether they were man or woman. She saw these incredibly strong, enduring people, and it said something very deep about what it meant to be human, and the courage it takes to run a race like that, and to live a life of integrity. And she fell in love with it, and knew it was something she wanted to do. I find such inspiration in these words, and see such an important instruction in how one can move through the world with their life with kindness, connection, and meaning. When Bobby applied and was told no, because women weren't capable of running more than 1.5 miles, she noted that at the time she was running 40 miles at a stretch and thought to herself, well, they have something to learn. Bobby noted that if she could disprove this falsehood about women, how many other falsehoods would be called into question? And thank you, Bobby, for teaching us all. I am in awe of your sense of confidence and courage, especially at such a young age, and in a time when women were held to such limited beliefs and opportunities. I know how critical it was in my own life to have ample support, encouragement, coaching, and opportunities, and I wonder how many of us would have had the fortitude to follow our hearts and intuition as Bobby did. Bobby, we are so incredibly grateful and fortunate that you did. Just 50 years later, my own daughters participated in our own track program starting at age 3, and women all over the world are excelling in and even winning ultra-endurance distance competitions. Thank you, Bobby, for your contribution and impact. When you jumped into that race, you also jump-started the progress that my daughters and I have directly benefited from throughout our lives. I know I am not alone in the recognition that my experiences in fitness and sport have been some of the most meaningful and beneficial of my life, especially in its ability to connect us and act as a positive agent for change. As a physician and mother, I know that these opportunities are also the most crucially important to our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Bobby, the impact of your courageous act in life is profound and important, and I speak for everyone when I say a deeply sincere thank you. I cannot help but note how remarkable and fitting this location and final orientation is, as the highest point outside of Boston at the start of the marathon, and beautifully sitting just off the road as Bobby did on that fateful day.
But most remarkable to me is that the figure sits high and strong and faces the path ahead, representing not only the remarkable nature of Bobby's vision and strength, especially at such a young age, to be able to see the possibility of the path before her, to have the conviction to follow one's heart, even when it goes against the societal fashion of the time, and the strength to prepare, train, and jump into the race, and to trust in oneself enough to do so. I feel emotional thinking of all the athletes that will from this day forward pass by Bobby as they advanced in their corrals to the start line. Having experienced the incredible surge of emotion that accompanies those final steps to the start, what a momentous gift and lift the girl who ran will give them all. Just as the male runners who discovered Bobby among them on that fateful day 60 years ago supported and encouraged Bobby, so has been true in our journey towards realizing this day, the unveiling of this beautiful piece. When the project was in need of a final push of funding to bring it to fruition, it was a group of local women, championed by our dear and remarkable friend Susan Hurley, who were inspired by Bobby's story to achieve this final goal. With the support of many wonderful local sponsors, the HCA, and most recently with the support of Representative Rena DeRossi, who secured a financial earmark to ensure the statue could reach this beautiful and impactful location. We'd like to recognize and welcome to join us Representative James Arena DeRosa. He serves as the 8th Middlesex District, which includes Hopkinton. This installation was made possible by an earmark filed and secured by the representative with the support of Senator Karen Spilka.
Well, thank you all. I'm delighted to be here. It's such an honor to represent Hopkinton in the legislature. And this is just another great example of this amazing community. So many groups and individuals did so much to make this happen. I was happy to play a small part. I remember talking with Tim and Kim and Kelly up at the HCA, and they said, we've always wanted to move the statue down. We're still not quite there with the fundraising. And I said, well, let's do an earmark. And of course, as was mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned it, anytime we're successful in getting the earmark from the state, it's only through the collaboration of the Senate. And I know Karen Spilka was also an enthusiastic supporter of this earmark as well. I'm old enough to remember when this happened. And I grew up when my mom was a competitive diver. She played field hockey. Women did sports in my house. It was just how I grew up. And there was so much excitement when Bobby first did this. And at the same time, a little bit of, well, as it should be, right? Why is it such a big, it was a big deal, but it shouldn't be. And I remember when you read your letter a few weeks ago at the YMCA breakfast, and I'm thinking to myself on why they thought women couldn't run. And I was thinking of the women I knew who served in Peace Corps in the early 60s, who dug ditches in 100-degree heat and worked all day laying pipe for water. And I'm like, I wonder if this guy could hang out an hour with them and last that long, right? Who knows? And of course, I'm very competitive. I always root for Hopkinton when they're in the tournaments, and watch the medal count for the United States at the Olympics. And then when people are chanting USA, USA, I want to just say, don't forget Title IX, right? I remember a time when we used to get hammered by the Eastern Europeans and the Russians in Olympic sports. Now we're very competitive. A lot of it's because of the women. And it was about fairness and equity, right? It wasn't about every dime being the same. My sisters played field hockey, and I did track and baseball. The football team always got more money. Well, it's a more expensive sport, common sense. However, my sisters were so upset that the town would not drag the field hockey field before their games. So before they dressed, they used to have to go walk the field and pick rocks off the field. Talk about a petty dig at women's sports. I mean, really? But they didn't, so they had to do their own thing without the support of the town. Here we are, fast forward, and so much has changed. And what have we learned? We have learned that we can celebrate girls and celebrate women in their achievement, and at the same time continue to celebrate boys in their achievements as well. And what a great example of that here in Hopkinton this winter, both the girls and the boys winter track teams are the state champions, winning the winter relays, which is very cool. And of course, you know, when Bobby ran, this is really interesting. The winning time for the men was 2:17. I don't know if anybody knows this, but last year the women's champion came in around 2:17, right? So, given the opportunity, things change, and it's all good, and it's really amazing. And by the way, just to be clear, The Boston Marathon was the first marathon in the world that admitted women officially to become part of the race, which is a great thing. And this race that starts here, it's an iconic global event. Right, what do we have now? We have the men's division, women's division, wheelchair division, a division where people maybe need a little assistance and run together as a team, thousands of runners that run for charity, runners that maybe a little later in life aren't quite as fast as they used to be, but it's for everybody. And what have we learned? That it starts here in Hopkinton with Bobby Gibb blazing the trail. Boston has shown the world there is enough space on the road for all of us. Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite Bobby up to say a few words. Would you like to say a few words?
Oh, it's so wonderful to see everyone here, everybody who helped make this possible. This whole incredible community is just so amazing. And the community of Hopkinton and the community of the whole running world is just amazing. And I just really want to thank everybody. And I also want to remind you that, yes, it's the 60th anniversary of my run in 1966. But it's also the 250th anniversary of our country, which is huge, because this is the first time in the history of the world that a country has been founded on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, human rights and civil rights for everybody. And we have been gradually moving towards that goal here, and we believe this has been expanded now to human rights for everyone in the world. I know during World War II, I was born in the middle of World War II, by the way, but I didn't remember this. But I read later that FDR said, we are fighting World War II so that everybody in the world can have human and civil rights. That was, so we've always had this vision of humanity having civil rights and human rights, and I think we need to remember that and be thankful of that and try to live up to that ideal. So thank you.
Okay, we're going to do the ribbon cutting now. Joanne Flaminio from the BAA is going to join us. Elaine Lazarus from the town of Hopkinton. I know I saw her somewhere. Representative Arena DeRosa. And Jamie.
I'm Gloria. Just make it Gloria.
I'll ask you what I'm doing.
That's always Ain't that the truth? Go ahead, you go.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay, ready or not, hope it works.
We're going to take a quick time out on this edition of HCAM News. A whole lot more ahead. Don't go anywhere.
HCAM is supported by our viewers. Thank you. And by the Hopkinton Independent newspaper and online news site. The newspaper reaches 100% of the homes and businesses in town, and the website is updated daily with exclusive Hopkinton content. Readers can receive a daily newsletter and breaking news alerts via email.
HCAM programming is supported by our viewers. Thank you. And by WPC Pest Control. Don't tolerate, eliminate your pest problem. Find them online at nobugsnopests.com. On Monday, February 16th, Hiller girls hockey was on the road, but at home against New England Sports Center neighbor, undefeated Algonquin to close out their regular season. The scoring got started in the first period.
And now out in front of the net, there's a shot and a goal. Madeline Glenn, the senior. And Algonquin will take the 1-0 lead at 8:42 left to go in the first period. Pushing her way into Algonquin territory. A nice move there, takes the shot, and that's it! What a score for Olivia Hedger!
It was a 1-1 game heading into the second period.
Tested, able to get it back. Jean looking to approach and pops it in! Lucy Jean! Another tremendous score at 12:09 left to go in the period. Jean contested a lot of the far side, steals it back, able to pop it in, top shelf. 2-1 Hillers. And now here's Madeline Glynn looking to respond, and she will. Right after the score from Lucy Jean, Madeline Glynn striking right back at 12:01 left to go. Gotta try to avoid those penalties for the Hillers, no doubt. There's a shot, and it is in! A very impressive shot there by the defenseman, Brooke Cutler.
The Hillers took a 2-1 lead, but Algonquin struck back with 3 goals. The Hillers fought hard and battled, but Algonquin took the 5-3 win. On Wednesday, February 18th, playoff-bound Hiller boys basketball closed out their regular season and hosted Wayland. Wally Henneberry and Mike Tarosian were on the call.
Josh Lewis guy goes baseline. Oh, he kicked it out. Thought he had a nice reverse layup. There's a three-pointer for Connor McFarland. That's 6 points for him. Alstrom Hall with the rebound.
There we go.
Deep, and he's got Miles Heavey. So Josh Kim with the 2-pointer just underneath the basket. It gets it in. That is not an easy shot.
Not easy at all. That was a pretty three-pointer.
And there's Spinelli with another layup.
He's got a nice soft touch when he goes up to that basket.
They're trying to look to get Boschman in the corner, but they can't. Spinelli for 3. Wow. And he hits. It's a 5-point lead for the Hillers. Gavin Cho looking around, gets Pat Riley right under the basket, and he converts. That's the first 2 points for Pat Riley tonight. Gavin Cho looking around, gets to Spinelli. Spinelli looking for 3. Gets it, dumps it to McNally, who dumps it for Boschman, and that's a great little tic-tac-toe play there. Josh Kim brings it all the way down, turns it around, and puts it in. And he's got 10 points tonight. Gets it to Miles Heavey, saves it. Alstrom Hall saves it over to Josh Kim on the other side of the court.
Wow.
That was a heave.
Believe it or not, we are out of time for this edition of HCAM News. But don't worry, next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., we'll be back. For everyone at HCAM, I'm Tom Nappy. As always, we thank you for watching. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.